Danny never thought he'd find love in the middle of a chaotic grocery aisle, but that's where he met Elsie. She was juggling a toddler on her hip, calming a restless boy, and somehow still managed to flash him a smile that felt like sunlight after years of cold. Danny, 34, had lived quietly. No kids, no marriage, just long days at work and quiet dinners alone. But Elsie had a spark, a kind of wild, beautiful energy that made him feel alive for the first time in years. Her two children, Leo and Isla, were shy at first, especially Leo, who clung to his mother like a shadow. But Danny didn't rush. He showed up quietly and consistently until bedtime stories and scrape-knee bandages became their language. Elsie often said Danny brought calm into their chaos, but what she didn't know was they brought purpose into his emptiness. For the first time, he felt like he wasn't just living, he was building something. A family, a home, and in that small, noisy apartment filled with crayon drawings and mismatched socks, Danny realized he didn't just love Elsie. He loved them, all of them, and he would do anything to protect that feeling. The shift from stranger to dad didn't happen overnight. It unfolded in quiet moments and shared silences, in whispered bedtime stories and Saturday morning pancakes. Danny never expected to be called that word, never imagined how heavy and holy it would feel coming from a child who wasn't his by blood, but slowly, beautifully, it became his reality. Lau, cautious and observant, had a gaze that tested trust. He'd watch Danny from the doorway, while Isla climbed into his lap without hesitation. But Danny never pushed. He showed up every day, every meal, every tear, and little by little, Leo let down his walls. It started with small questions, help with homework, an invitation to kick a ball around the yard. The moment came quietly, like a gift wrapped in breathless joy. They were piecing together a Lego set when Leo looked up and asked, "Dad, can we build a garage next?" The word stopped Danny mid-reach. No trampi. No announcement. Just a soft, sincere truth that melted something deep inside him. From then on, the name stuck, and with it came a deep sense of belonging. School pickups, parent-teacher nights. Soccer sidelines. Danny embraced every part of fatherhood without a second thought. When Isla handed him a drawing of their family with stick figures and a big, crooked heart around the three of them, Danny knew it wasn't just about being called dad. It was about being seen that way. He hadn't just stepped into their lives. He'd earned a place in their hearts. Their wedding wasn't extravagant. No chandeliers, no five-tiered cake, but it was real, honest. They married beneath a string of warm lights in Elsie's aunt's backyard, surrounded by mismatched chairs, homemade cupcakes, and the kind of laughter that makes your chest ache with gratitude. Danny stood at the altar, hands trembling slightly, as Leo fidgeted beside him with a plastic ring box and Isla twirled in her flower girl dress. When Elsie walked toward him barefoot in a simple lace gown, carrying wildflowers she'd picked herself, Danny didn't just see a bride, he saw a new beginning. Her vows weren't perfect. She stumbled through a few lines, choked up once or twice. But the way she looked at him, like he was the lighthouse in a storm she never thought would end, made every word sacred. "You've given me peace," she said. "You've given the kids a future." Danny believed her. He clung to that belief through the years that followed. They moved into a cozy rental, cracked tiles, leaky sink, but full of love. Danny worked overtime to save for a house of their own, filling a mason jar labeled "Our Future" with loose change and folded bills. He built bunk beds, fixed broken toys, patched scraped knees, and made pancakes shaped like hearts. Each moment wove another thread into the tapestry of their life. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. And in that quiet, hard-working love, Danny found what he never thought he'd have. A family that felt like forever. It began as a whisper, barely noticeable at first, like a draft sneaking through a window left ajar. "A missed dinner here, a late text there. Work's just crazy," Elsie would say with a tired smile, tossing her purse on the table like the weight of it excused the distance growing between them. Danny believed her. Of course he did. They were building a life together, and he trusted her the way a house trusts its foundation. But slowly the cracks widened. Girls' weekends to Tahoe started popping up like weeds. First once every few months, then twice in the same month. "You've got the kids, right?" she'd ask casually, like Danny hadn't already shifted his entire life to care for them. He noticed her phone habits changing. New passcodes, screens flipped face down, late-night smirks at messages she wouldn't explain. He tried to ignore the knot forming in his stomach. Told himself it was stress, overthinking. But silence has a way of speaking louder than truth. Danny found himself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying her words, her glances, the half-smiles that no longer reach her eyes. He tried to bridge the growing chasm with extra effort, cooking her favorite meals, planning surprise outings with the kids. But her attention was already elsewhere, her laughter echoing in rooms Danny no longer felt invited to. The woman who once looked at him like he was the answer now avoided eye contact, like he was the question she regretted asking. It was a Tuesday, gray sky, quiet house. The kind of afternoon that feels like it's holding its breath, when Elsie finally shattered the illusion. She sat Danny down on the couch, the same one where they'd watch cartoons with the kids, shared wine on anniversaries, and fallen asleep tangled in each other's limbs. But this time, her eyes were dry, her voice flat, rehearsed. "I've been seeing Owen again," she said. Danny blinked, like she'd spoken in a language he didn't understand. "Owen, the kid's dad?" She nodded, then added the dagger. "I've been sleeping with him too." The world tilted. He didn't shout, didn't cry. He just sat there, hollowed out, trying to remember how to breathe. The silence between them was deafening, punctuated only by the muffled sound of Leo and Isla playing upstairs, blissfully unaware that the ground beneath their feet had just shifted. "I didn't plan it," Elsie whispered. "It just happened." Danny's voice cracked when he spoke. "You cheated on me with the man who left you and your babies behind." Her answer was more painful than the truth itself. "I loved him first. I need to see if there's still something there, for the kid's sake." The words weren't just betrayal. They were a dismissal. 4 years of love, trust, bedtime stories, birthday parties, reduced to a detour in her journey back to someone else. That night, Danny packed a bag, left his toothbrush on the sink, and walked away from the life he thought he'd finally earned. Danny watched from the outside as the life he built was repackaged and repurposed like a secondhand script. Just weeks after he moved out, Elsie and Owen took center stage, performing their grand, second chance narrative with curated smiles and matching flannel pajamas. Their social media became a stage. Photos of family hikes, pumpkin patch visits, game nights with captions like "healing together" and "family, always." To anyone scrolling by, they looked like a miracle. But to Danny, it was theater, fabricated, filtered, and painfully fake. He sat alone in his apartment, lights dim, scrolling through these images like a ghost at his own funeral. Each post was a reminder. He had been replaced, edited out like a typo. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was the revision. The story he helped build had been rewritten without him, and the credits now rolled with names he didn't recognize. The bunk beds he assembled, the crayon drawings he once hung proudly, the routines he lovingly built, they were all being recycled under a new name. Yet in every picture, Danny saw the same forced glint in Elsie's eyes, the kind that tried too hard to convince the world, and maybe herself, that she'd made the right choice. It was like watching someone wear your old clothes and pretend they'd always fit better on them. Danny didn't lash out. He didn't call. He just let the silence speak for him, knowing full well that truth doesn't need to shout. It waits, patient, and always comes home. The first call came late, 10:42 p.m., to be exact. Danny stared at his phone as Elsie's name lit up the screen, her voice trembling in the voicemail she left behind. "It's about Leo. Please, he's not sleeping. He keeps asking for you." The second came 2 days later. Isla bit another kid at school. "She won't talk to me. I don't know what to do." Her voice cracked, worn thin by stress and something else, regret. Danny listened but didn't call back. He knew what she wanted. Not a husband. Not even forgiveness, but stability. A warm, steady presence to plug the holes in a ship she let sink. When he finally answered the third call, she didn't waste time. "They need you," she said. "Not me. You." Her words sat between them like a bargain she hoped he'd take. But Danny didn't flinch. "What do I get?" he asked, his voice cold clear. She blinked through the phone, stunned. "What? You want me to be their dad again? I was never their legal father, but I love them like one. Now you want that man back. But why should I come back just to be used again?" Silence followed. Danny didn't fill it. He let hang heavy. "I'm not your safety net," he said. "And I'm not a free second chance." Her voice softened into something close to a plea, but he'd heard it all before. This time, he wasn't stepping back into a burning house just because someone finally noticed the flames. Danny never imagined the same woman who once whispered love into his ear would one day weaponize his kindness in a courtroom. But there it was, a petition for child support delivered by a manila envelope and a stranger's knock. The words were blunt, clinical, de facto parent, emotional responsibility, financial obligation. Elsie had twisted every bedtime story, every packed lunch, every scraped knee kiss into legal ammunition. He acted as a father, her lawyer argued. He assumed the role willingly. Danny sat in that courtroom, heart pounding, as photos of birthday parties and holiday mornings were paraded like evidence of a crime. Leo's laugh, Isla's smile, moments Danny cherished, now thrown onto a screen like proof of guilt. Then came the videos. Leo, eyes downcast, reading lines written by someone else. I miss my dad. I love you, Danny. And the letter from Isla, shaky handwriting spelling out, please come home. His breath caught in his throat. He wanted to run, to hold them, to fix it all, but the voice in his head reminded him. This pain wasn't born of love. It was a manipulation. When his lawyer, Ron, stood and cross-examined Elsie, the tide shifted. She admitted Danny had never legally adopted them, that she'd left him to explore things with Owen. Ron struck hard, painting the truth clearly. Elsie didn't want a co-parent. She wanted a backup. And now that her gamble failed, she was looking to cash in on Danny's heart. But this time, he wasn't giving it away for free. The courtroom was heavy with silence as Ron stood tall, sharp as a scalpel, and carved through the web Elsie had spun. Did Danny adopt the children? He asked. No, Elsie replied, her voice clipped, eyes faltering. A ripple moved through the room, the first crack in her carefully crafted image. Then came the unraveling. Ron pressed forward with precision. Why did you leave him? He asked. Her answer was quiet but damning. I wanted the kids to be with their real dad. The words hung in the air like smoke. Ron pounced. You didn't want to co-parent. You wanted to replace. You didn't invite Owen back for the kids. You brought him into Danny's home, into the space Danny built because you wanted him. And when it fell apart, you expected my client to come mop up the mess. One by one, the lies collapsed. Ron projected Elsie's glowing Facebook posts, the smiles, the captions, the curated illusion of happiness with Owen. Everyone a nail in her credibility. The courtroom no longer saw a grieving mother. They saw a strategist playing her last hand. When the judge ruled in Danny's favor, no child support, no parental obligation, it was a quiet kind of justice. But not without a price. Danny was ordered to pay $500 in relocation costs. A small sum, but it stung like salt in a wound. He hadn't abandoned anyone. He'd been pushed out, then sued for not staying. Still, as he wrote that check, Danny knew one thing for sure. He had finally stopped being her plan B. In today's world, love alone isn't enough. Boundaries matter just as much as compassion. Danny's story is a reminder that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. And stepping up for others shouldn't come at the cost of your own self-worth. Whether you're in a relationship, a blended family, or simply navigating trust, always protect your peace. Don't let guilt or manipulation blur the line between responsibility and exploitation. Sometimes, walking away isn't selfish, it's survival. And healing begins not when others regret losing you, but when you stop needing their approval to feel whole. Guard your heart, but honor it too.